I pronounced and maybe got into a little trouble by saying recently after the raid on Apple Daily and the arrest of Jimmy Lai that press freedom is dead. Here now, what I meant by that was that the guarantees that we could count on, the fact that Hong Kong was a place where press freedom would be protected and that the government, supported it, those are gone now. 200 police raided Apple Daily, one of the most popular newspapers in Hong Kong, very pro-democracy. 200 police raided it. That was shocking. It's a stunning thing. I've lived in Africa, I've lived in the Middle East, and I've never seen police with 200 uniformed officers raid a newsroom and rifle through files. People were shell-shocked by this huge show of force designed to show we're in charge and we're going to use this law.
With the national security law, the police also arrested the publisher Jimmy Lai. Not just him, but also his two sons, along with 4 other executives, high-level executives, managers. Jimmy Lai was charged with money laundering or helping with just channeling money to some international organizations lobbying on Hong Kong's behalf. Well, why would that be related to anything that the news desk or the chief executives were doing? So essentially, once this precedent has been opened, then it is really hard to know how this is going to go down.
The national security law that came into effect July 1st was so vaguely written that we don't know where the red lines are, that they're going to stop journalists from reporting certain things or disallow coverage of certain things. If we have anything to go on so far with this kind of raid on Apple Daily, they tend to come in with shock and awe. We're just going to have to wait and see how the Chinese choose to implement it. And sadly, the only template we have to go on is how they implement the same national security laws in mainland China, which is not a good precedent.
After the arrest, the people wanted to show their support for Apple Daily by lining up to buy the print copies beginning at 2 a.m. They would line up and then those copies were sold out. So Apple Daily normally would print only 70,000 hard copies and throughout and couldn't really sell all of them. But that day, they printed 550,000 copies of the newspaper and they were all sold out. And at the same time, people were also buying up shares of Apple Daily because Apple Daily is listed, so that the value of Apple Daily shares went up by 1,000% in several days. So Hong Kong people like to say that, Hong Kong people are crazy. They would do whatever in order to defend their freedom.
Apple Daily was actually struggling for not having any ads. Now everyone's taking out ads in Apple Daily. Some of the ads are just blank sheets of paper because people are saying, look, I'll pay for a blank sheet of paper just to show my support for Apple Daily. So people are now showing that, hey, you can't intimidate us. So Hong Kongers are really kind of reacting to this the way you would expect them to, with kind of strength and resilience. This is all an outgrowth of the 2014 Occupy protests, followed by the 2019 protest against Carrie Lam's extradition law. The local government in Hong Kong showed it couldn't suppress Hong Kong people's desire for more democracy, more a say in their elected officials, how they elect them, etc., and a willingness to stand up to Beijing, trying to impose more control on Hong Kong. That scared China. They couldn't, under Xi Jinping, who does not like any dissent, they couldn't countenance that huge number of people protesting in the streets, some with anti-communist, anti-China placards. They just couldn't countenance that. And when the Hong Kong police couldn't quell it as much as they tried, using some pretty brutal methods, they decided that this was something that had to be stopped, not just for stopping it in Hong Kong. They were more worried about people in China seeing this kind of unrest, seeing this dissent. This could have spilled over the border into Guangdong. It could have spilled over the border into Shenzhen. It could have spilled over the border into mainland cities. So that was the concern. If you allowed this in Hong Kong, you might have seen it in other mainland cities that China cares more about.
Last year, when police began to beat up protesters in the street and lock people up, they also began to target journalists. Because protesters, if they themselves get beaten up, they themselves get tortured. If nobody knows about it, and it wouldn't matter. But journalists, they would be there taking live streaming video, they would be there reporting stories, taking pictures. And so all those images of police brutality got out. Journalists have themselves been attacked and they've themselves been fired at by the tear gas and rubber bullets and suffer injuries as well.
If there is some way to resuscitate press freedom, or if press freedom is on life support and can be revived, it's because of the bravery of journalists themselves.
If there's still a little bit of press freedom left in Hong Kong, it is because we still have these professionals who still insist on doing the job right, who still insist on just getting the truth out, that we don't want to be bought. But even these people are really subject to increasing threats, and not just physical threats and also dismissal. So the situation is really bad.